vlog time. It's me. Uh, I imagine it's probably about maybe 11:30 p.m. Johannesburg local time. So I'm sitting here in the crib, keeping warm. As you can see, got my bathrobe and my hoodie on. Something I had to get used to. The fact in the design of the homes and the residences and structures over here, where there really is no central heating and air. In fact, for all the people who live in the United States, I tap on that wall right there. There is no such thing as drywall over here. That's cinder block and concrete. And so, yeah, they don't build with wooden sticks, frames, and those types of things over here. They build with concrete and cinder block so that you got standing structures that don't burn down. But the side effect of that is there's no such thing as central heat and air. So you don't have hollow walls that you have, uh, ventilation ducts running through to carry heat and air. You have to use space heaters and fireplaces and fans and stuff like that. So sitting here, like I said, just keeping warm. Got my bathrobe. I actually got a really nice bathrobe the other day. Shouts out to Mr. Price. Man, I'm giving him like free promotion and stuff. Mr. Price has kind of like it's come to be one of my favorite places here. They just, I don't know what it is about them. I just like the stuff that they have there. Yeah, so that's a sidebar though. But anyway, so I wanted to just log on real quick and just vlog for a few minutes to just kind of share some thoughts that I have. Let's see. It's been a pretty interesting trip so far. It's not quite worked out the way that I expected it, in that I actually am in a position right now where I was really looking to end my trip early and head back to the U.S. To tend to a situation that has come up. I guess you can kind of classify it as an emergency situation, but all is well. So everything is cool, but I'm just in a situation right now where I won't be able to go back early. And that's kind of like what I want to share in this particular vlog, just to share some perspective on that and how things tend to work and how you can find yourself in a situation like I am now, where you may, have plans to be here for a certain time, or, anywhere you might travel, right? But you have to leave early because something comes up. And so, I've been working really for, almost, and it's been so frustrating because I've been trying to get this done for probably about the past day now. I've been, up all night through the night, not really sleeping, on the phone, emailing back and forth with this travel agency who handled my itinerary and my reservations for this particular trip. And quite frankly, they just have not been able to deliver. And that's unfortunately that's the case a lot of times when you travel. You end up in situations that they kind of throw you curveballs. You expect one thing, and whether it be in the form of flight delays or cancellations, or something comes up and you need to change your reservation and you can't. Just all kind of crazy different things that can happen. And so that's kind of like what I'm faced with now. So basically, long story short, I'm basically going to be here through the end of my trip, my originally scheduled departure, right? Of course, I would have preferred to be able to leave and get back earlier to tend to what it is I need to tend to, or where I feel I'm needed. But that's just not going to happen. And it's primarily because, like I said, the travel agency that I booked through, and I don't think I'll even give them the glory of even mentioning their name, because they haven't been able to deliver. So the reason that I went with this particular travel agency in the first place, and this is something that other individuals who have to, or who choose to to do this, where you're traveling back and forth to a particular place because you're just trying to build something there, or establish roots or connections or whatever, and it's a regular travel back and forth situation. is to establish some level of consistency. And I know that that's very difficult to do a lot of times, and that's going to be dictated for the most part, at least for me, and in our case, is by the time of year that you travel. And the reason that that is important is because you'll find that ticket prices to the African continent from the United States is just sometimes can just be totally ridiculous. And we've actually mentioned this on other videos. So it depends a lot what time of year that you travel, as far as how much money you would save or how much money you would spend. I mean, it can make the difference between your spending honestly in U.S. dollars. Let's just take, I use Delta as a punching bag because Delta, they are really notorious for this with their prices. And I think they're disrespectful for their prices, their pricing schemes. It might make the difference between you're paying, let's say, $1,200 US dollars or 1,100 US dollars on one airline as opposed to, say, paying, $2,700 on Delta, right? And that's a huge difference. And depending upon certain types of year, you can have a ticket. Whereas, let's say again, let's use Delta for an example. Certain times of the year you can fly on Delta to round trip Johannesburg from the United States. Let's say $1,500 US dollars. Other times of the year, that same ticket may cost you $3,600 round trip for a single person. And so it's very important that you plan your trips, and that's kind of what we do at this point is we plan what certain times of year that we're gonna, handle our business and stuff over here because we're not rich, and we have to pay for multiple tickets to fly round trip, and so you have to structure your lifestyle that you live from day to day to make sure that you save the money so that, because I'm not trying to go in debt, to do this stuff, right? I don't believe in, and we don't believe in running up credit cards to do stuff. If we can't pay for it, then we're not going to do it. And so that's how we tend to operate. And so to go along with that, we have to strategically plan, when we're going to travel over in order to get the best. And we can't always travel, during the cheapest months because I don't want to restrict ourselves to being here only certain times of the year because you need to get a feel for what a place is like in the, we have, summer, winter, spring, and fall in the United States. It's not so much here in South Africa. Of course, they have different parts of the country. You can experience different types of weather, but you're not going to get a blizzard in South Africa, right? It's typically, either what I like to classify as is either going to be warmer months or colder months, or the winter months or the summer months or whatever, right? And it's just hard to distinguish between those seasons. There's not like really 4 seasons here is my point. And so, but you still want to be able to get the experience of a place at different times of the year. You want to come during the first quarter of the year. Sometimes you want to come during the second quarter of the year. Sometimes the third. You want to be here during some of the fourth quarters of the year, which the seasons are opposite. So when it's summer in the United States, it's winter in South Africa and vice versa. So, and again, that's why I'm in my bathrobe and stuff like that, because it's wintertime here. Not to mean I can't wear a bathrobe, even in the summertime in the United States. I guess the point that I'm making is it's cooler inside the residence during the winter months. And so you're going to tend to bundle up a little bit more. So back to my point though. So you want to get a feel. And so you're not, or sometimes you're going to have to just, bite the bullet, as we say, right? You're going to have to say, okay, I know traveling this time of year, and that's something that I haven't figured out really. Why is it that the more expensive months to visit South Africa are the winter months? Like, to me, I want to be someplace where it's hot and sunny, and I can be comfortable. I don't want to be any place necessarily where I have to put on a heavy jacket or I got to sit around the house bundled up and stuff like that if I'm going to visit there. So it stands to reason to me that prices are going to go up because a ticket is more in demand. It's like, okay, it's more in demand to come here in the wintertime than it is the hotter months. That doesn't make sense to me. I've never really understood that. Maybe South African family can shed some light on that. But, so that's the thing. So, so the tickets are probably most expensive during this time of year to travel over here. And so with that, I tend to, book through certain channels as opposed to going direct, to the airline like I would other times of the year. Like say in early January, February time frame, or even I say October, around October, tickets they get to be really reasonable around that time. So, I'll tend to book direct because the ticket prices are just generally cheaper during that time. And so I don't have to go through these janky ass travel agencies that you find through, these apps like Skyscanner, and those sorts of apps out there to where they say, oh, yeah, we got this range of tickets out here. And, it's available at this price through these 6 different sites or whatever, or apps. And so then you go to there and then you get the prices, but then you have to deal with this travel agency to book your reservations. And that can be quite problematic. In the past, I pretty much stuck to like the big guys like Travelocity, Expedia. What's one of the other ones out there? But those are a couple of main examples. Kayak. So if you have issues a lot of times with them, it's easier to resolve. But these small agencies, these travel agencies that come out of nowhere that you find through these apps, they can get you these best deals on these tickets, man. If something goes wrong, you're just going to be ass out, ass hanging all the way out, when things go wrong. Because what happened in my particular situation is I paid a service, and normally I didn't really expect this, but for some reason I told myself, why not just do it, right? And it was a feature that it was an add-on where you can change your flight, your reservation for any reason. No questions asked, I guess is how they characterize it, for any reason. So I could modify my itinerary if I needed to cancel, if something happened. Let's say I got sick and hey, I can't make this trip. Or let's say I get here like I did this time and I need to leave early. I wanted to leave early, then that would allow me the ability to do that. But that just was not the case this time. And the reason is every time I went to go, now there was a charge that I had to pay. There was a cost difference on the ticket that I would be responsible for paying. But I paid that money up front to allow me to do that. So yeah, it's still piling on more into an already expensive ticket. But I expected that I would be able to do it and change it, no problem. Wrong, did not happen. So I spent like the last day going back and forth with this travel agency over this service that they sold me, and going back and forth with my bank, being on the phone with my bank, just all kind of crazy stuff, man. Trying to get this stuff resolved because some authorization, so-called, was not provided for me to pay online for that to have the reservation changed. Whereas I've been using that same card on the ground here, since I've been here with no problem. So if I go in front of somebody, present them that card, it's no problem. But from what my fraud department at my bank told me, the financial institution that sponsors my card, they say that there's so much global fraud going on these days. There's so much fraud and corruption everywhere. Everybody's stealing, that basically nothing can be trusted anymore. And so they have high levels of scrutiny when they deal with these merchants, these online merchants doing business and accepting credit card payments. So even though my bank keeps telling me that, hey, there's no block on the card, we provide the authorization for you to initiate this transaction or whatever, but this, for some reason, on the agency side, the travel agency side, they're rejecting, somehow rejecting that payment or declining the payment. So you got my bank, you got Visa, who has the logo on the card. And they're a middleman as well. So you got like 3 people in this chain: the travel agency, Visa in the middle, and then you got my financial institution. So it's just one whole complicated mess, and it's extremely frustrating. And you can find yourself. Imagine if you were in a situation like I have, and you had like, say, a really, really bad situation, like, say, I don't know, a death in the family or something like that, and you needed to get out of a particular place. Or let's just say maybe there's some civil unrest that happens, here, and I need to get out of here, right? I wouldn't be able to. I'd be stuck until my flight leaves when it's scheduled to leave because of this situation. So these are things that you really have to think about, not only in my situation, but if you're just traveling, period, right? As I said earlier, so it's just been really frustrating to deal with. But we'll get through it. It just kind of comes with the territory. Yeah, so it's just, man, it's been kind of a crazy trip. So I'm just chilling, right now. Just relax. Actually, like I said, it's probably close to midnight now. I probably need to be getting to bed. But I just want to come out and just vlog about this whole thing, just to share in the frustration. And we're gonna figure out what we're gonna do tomorrow to kind of keep this thing going. But yeah, so that's it. So I just want to come out here real quick and y'all take it easy, and we'll holler later.